What is up guys, Delboy here. A quick prediction video on Errol Spence Jr. versus Mikey Garcia. This fight goes down on the 16th of March and it takes place at the AT&T Stadium in Texas. In this fight, Errol Spence will be defending his IBF welterweight title. Let's briefly break down both fighters' records and attributes. Errol Spence has a record of 24 wins, 0 defeats, 0 draws. 21 of those 24 wins coming by way of knockout, whereas Mikey Garcia has a record of 39 wins, 0 defeats, 0 draws. 30 of his 39 wins coming by way of knockout. So Mikey Garcia is actually more experienced, but the key for me is, he's had no experience at welterweight. He's been fighting in lower weight classes. Mikey Garcia actually started at featherweight and he's taking this fight at welterweight. So I'm not sure how valuable that experience will actually be. And onto the dimensions of both fighters. Errol Spence Jr. is listed as 5'9.5" with a 72-inch reach, and Mikey Garcia is listed as 5'6" with a 68-inch reach. So Errol Spence Jr. is 3.5 inches taller with a 4-inch reach advantage. So Errol Spence is a lot taller and a lot longer than Mikey Garcia. Also, he is going to be the heavier man in the ring. Like I said, Errol Spence, he started his career at welterweight. He's a big welterweight, and Mikey Garcia started his career at featherweight. And this is Garcia's first bout at welterweight. To me, size will play a huge factor in this bout, and I think it will be detriment to Mikey Garcia and his chances of winning. Skill for skill, both guys are solid technicians. Errol Spence Jr. is a pressure fighter. He likes to come forwards, maintains a good shape, loves to work that body, puts his shots together well. Decent punching power, decent accuracy, a good jab, and he cuts the ring off to a good standard. Errol Spence is a technically sound pressure fighter. He does all of the basics very well, and he's clearly had a very good schooling coming up. On the back foot, I'm not convinced, but I don't think that's going to be a factor in this fight whatsoever. So all in all, I think Errol Spence is a very good fighter, a world-class welterweight. And to me, I favour him to come out on top in the welterweight division in the long run. But that remains to be seen. I do rate Errol Spence very highly though, but we do need to see a bit more. So yeah, I rate Errol Spence. As for Mikey Garcia, much like Errol Spence, he does a lot of the basics very well. Mikey, excellent jab, good right hander behind it, keeps distance very well. Very good timing, good counter-puncher, lovely hard left hook. Mikey, he'll spot his openings, he'll take them. He won't take any unnecessary risks. He's just a really good technical boxer. When you look at him, doesn't do anything out of this world, but he does everything well. He's a really good technical boxer. If you've got a young kid and you want to teach him the basics of boxing, you show him somebody like Mikey Garcia who does everything well, technically very good, doesn't do anything silly, not flashy, not extravagant, but he's got the fundamentals down to a T. And skill for skill, I think Mikey Garcia might be a bit better than Errol Spence, but to me, he's not that much better to bridge the gap in weight. That's how I see this fight. I believe early on, you may see Mikey have success. Being a smaller man, coming up from lighter divisions, I think you will see this guy appear a lot quicker than we're used to seeing. I think he's going to have success as Errol tries to cut the ring off. I could see Mikey stepping around him, popping that jab, landing that right hand as Errol comes forwards. And, after 2 or 3 rounds, I think Mikey could be up on the cards. But as Errol gets a foothold in the fight, as he closes that distance a little bit, as he starts to find the body, that's when I think Mikey will slow down. And as soon as Errol, gets that foothold in the fight, I think Mikey will start to come undone very quickly. I think the weight will tell. I think the difference in size will tell. The difference in punching power will be apparent. And as soon as Errol Spence starts to have success, it's a wrap. That's when the fight will turn. And I believe Mikey's downfall will happen fairly quickly. Ultimately, I just don't think this is a fight Mikey Garcia should be taking. I don't think he has any business at welterweight. And I've seen the signs. At lightweight, Mikey was looking good. He picked up a couple of belts and he was looking effective. He brutally knocked out Dejan Zlaticanin, and he also beat Robert Easter Jr. He was a unified champion and he was doing some good things. He then decides to move up to 140 and he fought Sergei Lipinets. Sergei Lipinets was a guy who was an undefeated fighter, but he's a guy who's proven very little. Lipinets is a fairly basic pressure fighter, and I felt, despite Mikey winning, he had a lot of problems with Lipinets, and I felt the difference in weight was obvious, and that was at 140. Mikey's power at 140 didn't have that same snapping impact. Yes, he dropped Lipinets once, but apart from that, he never looked like the same puncher, didn't look as physically strong. Lipinets got close on numerous occasions, he got some good shots away, and, he won rounds against Mikey Garcia. And essentially, Lipinets is a very unproven fighter. I've seen him struggle in fights in the past. To me, Lipinets is not a top 5 super lightweight, and Mikey had a tough fight against him. To me, 140 looked like Mikey's limit. Him going up to 147, I think is a bad move, and I can't see it working out, to be quite honest. And it's not like Mikey's going up and fighting another guy who's climbed up through the weight classes. No, he's fighting a huge welterweight. I mean, people say Spence's limit is middleweight. He's a massive welterweight. He'll certainly be a decent-sized super welterweight. For me, Mikey is biting off more than he can chew here, and I don't expect him to win this fight. I expect him to have success early on in the first round or two, but after that I expect Errol to take over and get a stoppage victory, maybe somewhere in the mid-rounds. Ultimately, I just think Errol is too big, too strong, hits too hard, and I think he'll win this fight personally, and I think he'll knock Mikey Garcia out. I just can't see Mikey going 12 rounds and winning this fight. It's set up for Errol to win. It's in Texas. It's in Errol's hometown. To me, it seems like a fight that is designed to, let Errol Spence take that next step into superstardom. This fight won't do it, but Mikey's a big name. It's a big occasion. If Errol Spence gets a knockout, it kind of raises his profile. I think that's what this fight is about. I think Mikey is the sacrificial lamb here. For me, from an outsider looking in, when I look at the PBC, when I look at Al Heyman, to me, Errol Spence seems to be the guy they're kind of hedging their bets on being the future at welterweight. And, I think everything will be set up for him to win. It's just how good he looks doing it. Me personally, I think we have to judge Errol Spence by the same standards we judged Golovkin and Canelo. When Canelo fought Khan and when Golovkin fought Brook, they were slated. And when Khan and Brook had a minuscule amount of success in these fights, people really went overboard with the criticism. So, I expect Errol Spence to be held to that same standard, to be quite honest. If he struggles in a few rounds, I want to see people point it out, because it's only fair. To be quite honest, people are talking about Errol Spence like he's a pound-for-pound fighter. If that's the case, if you honestly have him in your pound-for-pound list, then judge him how you judged Canelo and Golovkin. Me personally, I don't have Spence in that kind of company just yet. So if he struggles for a couple of rounds, it is what it is. I'm kind of expecting it. But you guys who criticised the likes of Golovkin and Canelo for maybe struggling in a couple of rounds, I expect you to hold Spence in the same regards and give him the same criticism, to be quite honest. But I very much doubt that's going to happen. Errol Spence is going to appear very high up on pound-for-pound lists after he wins this fight. for beating a lightweight. It is what it is. I expect him to win this fight. I expect him to win it fairly comfortably. And yeah, for me, it's just a pointless fight for Mikey to take. That's just how I feel about it. I can't really get excited about it, but it's one of those fights where I will watch it for the event and I will watch it due to morbid curiosity. That's how I see this fight. I want to see a brutal knockout. I'll be honest about it. Share your thoughts below. Peace.